Alright, in our next video what we want to do is we want to take the pieces of the map, open up our program, and get everything together and stitch them into one map. So we're going to open up our PNG file, our overview file, so we can see which pieces we need and how they go together. So first of all, we'll start out with opening up 494 so that we can get that in the center of our map. So we start up Inkscape and we get our window. You may need to resize it so you can click in this corner and hold it and drag it down to get a little bit more working space. This is the artboard. This is the actual piece of paper that we're going to be printing on. So right now it's a little small, 8.5 by 11. We actually want to make our map as big as we see it on the wall. So we want ours 3 by 3. That's 3 foot by 3 foot. So we're going to come up to File. We're going to go to Document Properties and change the size of the artboard. So it brings up this box, this dialog. We go to Custom Size, and well, first of all, we need to change the units, make it easier on us. Change it to feet. I'm going to go 3 foot by 3 foot. Hit Return. We can get out of that box. Now our artboard's a lot bigger. Now what we want to do is we want to import map number 494. So we go to File, Import, and it brings us to wherever our maps are stored. And you can either double click on this or you can hit Open. It brings up the PDF import settings dialog box. We're going to keep everything the same. Just click OK. And as that imports, what it's going to do is this is a vector-based graphics program. So everything is aligned, but whether you make it bigger or smaller, the way it looks is always the same. So if we have a small map or a big map, it doesn't matter. The maps are always going to be nice and smooth. So that's one good reason of why we use this program. Now, we've got the map. What we want to do is we want to, of course, move it toward the center of the map. And we can come over here to the magnifying glass and we can click on that and we can zoom out. So we're going to click on that, and if you notice there's a little plus sign in the magnifier. But if you hold the shift button down, it becomes a minus, so that you can click. If you left click, it brings us out so we can see the whole picture. We use these little sliders to position our map in the center. We're going to go back over here and click on the pointer again. Now we're going to left click and hold in the center, move it to the center of the map, and we can drop it, and then it repositions itself in the center of the map. Of course, you might want to move it a little bit more just to make sure it's centered. And that's about right. And then you can click outside of it and it deselects it. Now what we want to do is we want to put another layer, because we don't want to mess with this part of the map. We want it to stay the same, but we want to put another layer on top of it so that we can work without having to worry about harming this map. So we're going to come down here to Layers. It shows what layer we're on right now. And if you click the lock button, it locks that layer so that we can't do anything to that map. If you click on the eye, it makes it disappear. So that's the visibility layer. This is the lock layer, and this is what layer we're working on. So we're going to leave it locked, and what we're going to do is we're going to make another layer. So you can either come up here to Layer and add a layer, but what I like to do is I like to have all of my layers visible so that I can see what I'm working on. So I'm going to click on this, View Layers, and it brings up a little toolbox over here on the side. We can see what layer we're on. We can make our layers, we can change the opacity, whatever we need to do. So we're going to make a new layer, click on the plus, it brings up this box. We're going to make it layer 2, we're going to do it above the current, add, and it brings us to layer 2, and it selects that one. When it's gray or blue, it's selected. So now what we want to do is we want to bring in map number 464, and we're going to place it on the side so that we can join them together. So let's go over here to File, Import, 464. We're going to double click on that, and then OK in our dialog box, and it's going to bring that map up. And as it does, what we want to do is we want to match them together. Now these are going to overlap because they have a little bit more than, they're not the exact edges. They have about 1 inch or 2 on each side where we can overlay, which really helps out when we're trying to put these things together. Alright, so now our box comes up. What we're going to do is click, hold, and we're going to drag until we get it about the distance that we need it. And so just move it just real slow, and it right about in there. That's pretty good. So we'll just leave that. We'll just let go of the button. And now what we want to do is we want to zoom in, but we want to zoom into just one corner so we can match the streets up to make sure that they're all even. So let's go over to our magnifier, or if you don't like that, instead of hitting the magnifier, you can use a hotkey, which is all of the functions are mapped to the keys on the keyboard so that you can do them quickly, so it makes your work go faster. So let's hit Z, and you can click and drag a little dialog box or a little selector box around that, and it brings you right into where you want to go. Now we can kind of move it up a little bit and look at the streets. You see how you've got two of the same? What we're going to do is we're going to match those together. So again, put on your selector, and then you're going to click, and we're going to pull it back as you're holding the button so that we can even the streets up, and then when we get them even, they'll go right into one another, and it looks like one street. Let it go, and that's all you need to do. Now, to get an overview of the map to see what it looks like, instead of hitting the zoom, we can come up here to the zoom to fit page in window. When you click on that, it brings up your whole map, and you can click out to deselect it. Alright, so now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to show you how to get rid of all this extra map that you don't need, because this is part of Lavaca. You see the county line goes right down here, and that's all we want. We don't need all of Gonzales County, so I'm going to show you in the next video how to get rid of all this other stuff.